My name's Eva, and I'm one of the members of the association called Esta, plaza, which is a neighborhood association that was created in order to make use of the space that we're in now, which is also called Esta, plaza. It means this is a square. And basically this space is what we as an association have proposed might be the way that public spaces function and what might be the future of public spaces in the city. This space was created in 2008. It was a vacant lot that belonged to the city of Madrid, and it had been abandoned for over 30 years when we began using it. The way that the project emerged was that there was a course in a place called Casa Encendida, which is like the social work of a local bank. And this was a course on how to use public spaces. It was basically aimed at urban planners. So there were several urban planners involved in the course, and as a project at the end of that course, they basically came into the space with permission from the city of Madrid, who is the owner of the lot, and they made a sort of a model of what this might be like if the space were managed by the neighbors themselves. And so that was supposed to last one weekend, but somehow someone kept the key. We don't really know how. And basically people started coming and trying to make that model, that project that they had proposed, into a reality. And at the same time started negotiating with the city of Madrid to ask for permission to do that officially. And well, there's been several setbacks. There was one time when everything, basically we had a little garden, a vegetable garden, and suddenly one day the bulldozers came and tore everything down, and they were going to use the space supposedly to keep some machinery for some construction work that was going on in the area. And so basically they kind of destroyed everything that had been built up until that moment. This was at the start of the project. And the neighbors started gathering, and as a form of protest, we basically would have meet for breakfast outside in the street, right in front of the gate that opens up onto this space. And this went on for a couple of months. It wasn't really that long. I'm not very sure about this part of the history. I'm not sure how long it was, to be honest, but it wasn't very long. And suddenly we just got permission from the city. It was pretty quick. And then we started coming in and building things, basically with our philosophy is that we only use materials that are basically reused, like pallets from deliveries. We used a lot of bricks to make a theater that were actually found here on the lot. Basically we tried to do things with no money, and one of the rules of the place is actually that we cannot exchange things for money. So everything that we organize is free. We have concerts, we have some theater plays, we've had a lot of activities with children, like drawing with children, or there's now, we have every Sunday a gardening class for children, for very little children, and everything is just organized by people who want to have the experience of organizing it and want to share their knowledge with other neighbors, basically. The real project isn't so much the space as it is creating community, basically. You know, in big cities, it's sometimes you can basically, you know, go to work, go home, do your shopping, and not talk to anyone. And in this space, just the fact of having things to do with your neighbors, having a project in common, it's something that really gets people to relate to each other in a completely different way. And I think, you know, what it builds is a real community, which is something that maybe if we lived in a small village we would all have, because it's easier to get to know people. Of course there's also conflicts when you have that, but at least I believe that the pros outweigh the cons in this situation. So that's the project, basically.
Okay. And do you have, or do you want to pose a question for the audience?
Well, one of the things that we're working on now is that it's sort of difficult at times for the authorities to understand how to regulate this sort of project, because for instance, this project really wouldn't work if we had to have a furniture that is standardized or has passed. It wouldn't make sense, because the idea is, for instance, we've made all the furniture here. This is it's part of the project, because you have to have things to do together. The project is really creating community, but it's through activities that put people together. So to make something or to create something, so it wouldn't make sense in this sort of project to have to buy things. For instance, it wouldn't make sense, because then how do you create the community? You don't, if you just kind of buy a swing set and put it up, that doesn't make neighbors have to negotiate together to see how are we making this, or have to design it together, or it doesn't create that kind of contact that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't make sense. But of course, this isn't something that city or regional regulations or even national regulations have borne into account, because that's something that's always been done informally. And the problem with cities nowadays is that there are no spaces. There are very few spaces where that can be done. In Madrid, for instance, we have more and more public areas are being used for just for sidewalk cafes, because the city needs to make money from that. But people need spaces where they can relate to other human beings on a level that has nothing to do with business or with interchanging money, because that's how a community is created. And we believe, well, I strongly believe that that's how we create a better city, a kinder city. And so I guess my question is, or what I would propose as a debate is, how do you regulate self-managed spaces without over-regulating them, without giving the flexibility to the community, to the neighbors who are trying to build that community, so that they can basically do what they need to do in order to make the project work as a way to create community, but also so that it's understandable to the authorities.